it thinks it's in full rip mode, but it's not because AVC is still active. The ESC thinks it's in stability mode. The app thinks it's in full rip mode. Just does not perform as well as I had hoped. Okay guys, I'm back with the DX5C. I've verified that smart does not mean Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Hello folks, welcome to Netcruzer RC. Low Z Tenacity DB Pro, pretty cool new RC that came out in the last few months, and now there's the new TT Pro if you're looking for a short course version of this truck. And it's one of the first vehicles that came out with all the new, it actually is the first vehicle that came out with all the new Spektrum electronics, Spektrum Firma ESC, which has some telemetry and stuff built in that I wanted to try and access and see how does that work. The radio system that this vehicle comes with is the Spektrum DX2E active, but it does not have the ability to actually communicate the telemetry and stuff back and forth without an upgrade. There is this upgrade available, which is the Bluetooth upgrade module. I have done that, and I'm going to show you how that works. So this is the module. That's it. It's just got those 3-pin connectors, plugs into the back. It adds Bluetooth capability. If you do decide that you really like this radio and you want to keep it and upgrade it to the Bluetooth, this is the packaging you're looking for, and this is what it supports. If you follow some of my other videos, I had recommended to not upgrade the DX2E and buy the DX5C Smart. Because this Bluetooth module costs between $40 and $55 depending on your country. And the only thing it adds is Bluetooth, and then you have to use an app on your phone to be able to adjust the settings and to follow along with what telemetry you're getting out of your radio control vehicle. The DX5C Smart, it's unclear when you look at the Spektrum specs, but I think it also has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. I want to buy one to verify it, but last time I was in the shop, it was out of stock, and they got the Bluetooth module in for the first time, so I just kind of bit the bullet and said, I really want to try that out, so I got the Bluetooth module. So I have installed the Bluetooth into the DX2E Active. It's just this little half circle module that you plug into the back. Very much like if you're familiar with the Traxxas system, they have a Traxxas TQI Bluetooth module where you can pair multiple models and go through and program each one, and then you have settings for each vehicle. So I'm fairly let down by this, not to spoil it too soon, but the app and the ability to run the Bluetooth control off of this radio, as far as I can tell, it's limited to one model, which really, that's all the app can do is show you data for one model. I'll get into it, as well as it's a little buggy. So let me show you what happens when you get it all powered up. So I'll just do that now. Just going to power it on the radio, power on the system. Get a light on the back, which is looking for Bluetooth connectivity to the app on my phone. This does work with Android or iOS. I'm going to use iOS right now for Apple stuff. And there's an app, it's called DX2E. It used to be called Spektrum Dashboard. I think it's changed names a couple times. I wish I could turn the fan off on that. Hey, I got my AVC back. That is one setting that I ran into a bit of a problem. After I installed the Bluetooth module, it did a firmware upgrade on the radio. There was no firmware upgrades available for the car, but the radio got one. And then the next time I went to go try and drive, I didn't have AVC working anymore. This is what happens when you fire up the app for the first time. This is the app as you get it. Now, when you fire up the app, it doesn't initially auto-connect. You have to click on the Bluetooth icon in the corner. You have to find the Bluetooth. It's not even there. Where'd it go? I'm going to do this again. I'm going to close everything. I'm going to close all my apps totally. And I'm going to turn the radio on. Should be looking for Bluetooth now. I'm going to quickly go back to the app. Go into the Bluetooth setting. And now it should show up in the list. There it is. Horizon BLE. Wrong. What? Horizon BLE. There. Now it's connected. So you have to be quick about it too. If you don't catch it within the first maybe minute, that's likely just to save power. It turns Bluetooth off. Now Bluetooth is connected. So this is what you get once you get Bluetooth connected. It gives me the pack details, and I am actually running a smart pack, so I'm not sure what you see without that, but I did buy a new smart pack, so it does have that ability. I will test this later in the future without that. And temperature should be coming from the ESC. And I have programmed this based on the book. It tells you to put it into a 4-pole motor configuration and to set the rollout to a 1.5. And then once I start giving it some throttle here, you get live RPM and live kph. And so on 2S, On 2S we top it at 23 kph. That's with the 17 tooth pinion on 2S LiPo. What we can do here is within the dashboard, there's a status menu, which this is where you can actually set all of your endpoints for steering and throttle, sub-trims, and reverse. Under the setting menu is where you have a system setup, telemetry, and channel, so you can go into system setup, but you can just give yourself a name. You can choose between imperial and metric. You can set how many channels your radio has. This app only works on this one radio, so I'm not sure why they give you a channel count. Under model setup, this is where you can choose your model. So I did choose Tenacity DB Pro out of a list. And this is where you can set your battery type. As far as I could tell, this information didn't matter, but it is in here where you can set your model type and spectrum, but there's no multiple, anywhere that I've found here, there's no multiple model memory. Under social, that just lets you share stuff out, which I think is ridiculous. You don't need that at all. And then there's an about information, which just gives you the application version and the transmitter firmware. So if we close this settings out, under telemetry setup is where you can adjust things like your voltage limits, voltage alarms, current limits, speed limits, RPM, and temperature. Under channel setup, this is where you can set your trims, also from this area, as well as throttle. Under drive mode, this is kind of the most important one. Now, when I did the firmware update, for some reason it enabled full RIP mode. And as you can see here, full RIP mode is highlighted. It thinks it's in full RIP mode, but it's not, because AVC is still active. This is one of the buggy things about this app. And I've tested this multiple times, and every time I do this, this is what happens. The ESC thinks it's in stability mode. The app thinks it's in full RIP mode. If I go into stability mode, now it's just, you didn't see it, but it flashed. So now it's in stability mode, and it is. But if I go back to my dashboard, I've lost all my telemetry. Telemetry no longer works. Every single time you change your drive mode, until I turn off the buggy and turn on the radio again and do the whole process of like shutting down the app, reconnecting the Bluetooth in order to be able to see telemetry again. Now, if I click on full RIP, you see, it actually did apply, so it's still connected, but it's not getting itself the telemetry data anymore, and now full RIP mode is actually enabled properly where AVC is off. So it does work, but it's really quirky. Having the app bugs, I just don't think it's worth it, because you're also then limited to this DX2E radio, which has fairly poor ergonomics, the plastic wheel, the big chunky head. I think what I'm going to try and do is return the Bluetooth module, and I'm going to go get the DX5C Smart, and then we're going to see how much better is this information for the dashboard telemetry and stuff on the on-screen display on the DX5C. Because that's one thing that it should be better. Full RIP mode, I should still be able to access from the DX5C menu, but I'm not sure how the Spektrum dashboard is going to look. I do believe you still get all the same information. As far as I'm concerned, there's no benefit to doing it this way other than the cost. So you're spending maybe $40 to $50 for the Bluetooth upgrade, but in my opinion, for the $100 that it costs to get a full better radio, the DX5C Smart, that's probably the way to go. I recommended that before and then I didn't do it. I went the Bluetooth route. I regret it now. Go get the DX5C Smart and we'll see how that works out. And there's nothing wrong with it. It just does not perform as well as I had hoped. And not having multiple model memory, that's a killer. A buggy app and then still not being able to have data for multiple models? No, we're gonna have to put in a better radio. Let's try that. Okay guys, I'm back with the DX5C transmitter only. What I think is the best value real Spektrum transmitter on the market. Why? Because this one's a real computerized radio that has a screen on it, as well as it's Spektrum Smart. So we're gonna find out, does that really mean? Does it have Wi-Fi and does it have Bluetooth? When I look at the ad at my local hobby shop for this product, it says that it has that. It says right in the text that Spektrum Smart devices have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Find out, does this really have that capability? I know it will be able to have the telemetry show up on the screen, as well as it's just a better built unit. Hopefully it's better than the DX2E. I have removed the Bluetooth module and I did just return it. I've exchanged it for the DX5C. Now this radio you will be able to get for less than $100 US. Shout out to my local hobby shop, Great Hobbies, for having the best price on the DX5C Smart in what I could see is the whole country, $135 Canadian. Okay, let's see what this is like. It's kind of heavy. Now to me, this is the value king, because if you like the DX5 rugged, this is the same radio, just without the ruggedness. Yeah, for literally 100 less, you get the DX5C Smart. You get all the same features as the DX5 rugged. You just don't get the thumb grip, you don't get the fancy wheel, you don't get the waterproofness and the weather sealing. So that's about it. So there's a bunch of extra channels that are on this. I'm not really familiar with this radio. This is literally the first time I've ever held one of these. Throttle wise, seems okay. It's just like slightly above ready to run quality. It really kind of feels like your everyday ready to run radio. The difference is that it's computerized and it has a screen on it. So let's get it fired up with batteries, and I'll get it bound up to the Tenacity DB Pro, and we'll see what I can do with this. All right, we've done a bit of time traveling. It's now 1 week later, and I have had time to, use the radio on the Tenacity DB Pro and actually use it on track and see what that's like. First of all, Smart. I've verified that Smart does not mean Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. What Spektrum Smart means is telemetry, and lots of it. So it allows this radio to read all the telemetry off of this vehicle, and even more if you invest in the Spektrum Smart battery technology, because you can even read things like cell count, milliamp hours used, all the little minute details of the battery. So the benefit of going to a real, quote-unquote, real computerized Spektrum Smart transmitter is that you get all of the abilities that you saw in the app on the display, as well as more tunability, so you can fine-tune a lot more things. Okay, first of all, I'm going to plug in. I'm using the new IC5 connectors. Those add the telemetry and balance leads right in the connector. I'm going to turn the radio on, which is a digital button. Press and hold. Okay, and I've got the model all set up. I'm going to have to make a separate video about the setup because that is quite extensive. You'll need the documentation for the radio as well as the documentation for the vehicle, but I want to just show you for now what I've got set up. So as soon as this binds, it will detect the smart technology in a second. There, it just picked it up. So now it knows that it's getting the smart telemetry system, which it runs over the 11.1 millisecond response rate, so that half of that response rate is telemetry data and the other half is the control protocol. And so in order to see the telemetry, you can just scroll down. This is all customizable, but in order to see the programmability, you scroll down once on the display. And I've got a monitor here, and this here shows me that my motor is at 7.7 volts at a temp of 26 degrees. If I start giving it gas, I can see live RPM readings, as well as you can program in things like the speed as well. So here's, because I've got a smart battery, here's all my smart battery data. And here you can see that on 2S LiPo I got a max of 52 kph. So you can actually have a speedometer on your display as well. So yeah, the biggest benefit of going to the real radio is you get all of the smart telemetry programmability, you get more fine-tuning of AVC, as well as you get a full multi-model memory remote. So that when you click the wheel, you can control all of these things for each model, model name, sub-trim, reverse. You can go into your AVC rates, and the AVC in particular, instead of those 4 specific types that you had in the app, now you can control the steering gain, the throttle gain, and the priority all separately. So I've got it set so that I can control steering gain, which is turned all the way off, by adjusting button C, which you have D, C, B, and A. They're all digital buttons. That's one thing I don't like about this, is that there's no analog dials, they're all digital. So I've set this up so that if I want to turn up steering AVC, I just start holding up on this, and now I'm up to 10, 20, 20% AVC steering. So now if I move the vehicle, it has auto steering correction. This also lets me dial out any kind of throttle. AVC in general does cut throttle as well when it senses you spinning out, so I've turned that off completely, as well as priority. You can set your priority, and I will get into that separately in the video, just about how to set all this up. Alright guys, so the point of this video was, is it worthwhile to get the Bluetooth app for the DX2E and use the app, or is it better to just replace the radio? Based on the bugs that I encountered through the app and the limited functionality of the app paired DX2E, I say upgrade the radio. The value option is to get the DX5C Smart, or you can go into any of the other Spektrums above this one, but I say this one is the one that gives you the most functionality for the least amount of money, so I think it's a really good option. DX5C Smart. It's a fairly new model, came out just when the Smart stuff came out, and it just lets you get all of that telemetry data in the display on the radio. That does come disabled out the box though, so you have to know how to program it. I'm going to do a separate video about that, showing a bit more about how I set this all up, because it is a little bit involved, a little bit confusing. I did get it figured out, but you definitely have to read up on how to do it, so I want to show you that. Alright guys, so that'll come out in a future video about how to program the DX5C Smart, which will also be applicable to the Rugged, and so look forward to that. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you're new around here, subscribe. If you want to talk to me, leave a comment down below. And as always, thanks for watching.